Week 7 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking this week. Number 1, Cameron Dicker of the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously down 2 offensive linemen. Hampton, he's going to be out for a little bit longer as well. They're going to have to settle for more field goals as this Los Angeles Charger team. When we saw last week, they won the ball game in Miami with a game-winning field goal from Dicker. He had a monster game, 17 fantasy points. And this week in a potential high-scoring game with Indianapolis coming to town, I think Dicker goes out there once again, has a big ball game. Number 2, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys. Aubrey, we know he's the best kicker in the league. 65 yards, he could kick it up to with ease is Brandon Aubrey. But the thing is, this Cowboy team, they've been scoring a lot of touchdowns all season long, where those long opportunities haven't been there for Aubrey really like they were last season. There'll be games here and there where obviously he's going to kick 4 or 5 field goals, but they're few and far in between. And this week with the Commanders coming in, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, obviously, once again. But the thing is, we'll just see if Aubrey's going to have to kick some 50, 55-yarders in this one. Number 3, Chris Boswell of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So for years, he's been going out there, getting a lot of opportunities. Is Chris Boswell. We know he has a big boot, one of the best kickers of all time from 50-plus. And last week, coming off the bye, he had 15 fantasy points. I know he missed a 54-yarder in that game, but this week in a matchup Thursday night, Steelers, I think they get opportunities in this one. Cincinnati's defense isn't any good. And Boswell, like I said, one of the best kickers for many seasons in the league. Number 4, Chase McLaughlin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He got off to a slow start the first 2-3 weeks of the season, but ever since then, kicking some long ones is McLaughlin. 50, 55 yards pretty easily. He's in a high-powered offense, obviously, in Tampa Bay. Even if they're down, they're big wide receivers. Well, we know Godwin and Ibuka already out, and Mike Evans, we'll see if he plays or not. Either way, they get in the red zone. It's an indoor ball game, which is always a plus as well. And I believe this week, Chase McLaughlin, once again, is a top 5 option at the position. Number 5, Eddie Pinheiro of the San Francisco 49ers. Eddie Pinheiro, 3 weeks in a row, double-digit fantasy points. And he's been great since they signed him in week 2, where he's going out there and he's kicking 50, 55 yards pretty easily. So this week, with some reinforcements possibly coming for this Niner offense, this could help their chances better as well in the red zone and more opportunities possibly for Pinheiro. And this Atlanta defense, believe it or not, they're bend but don't break unit. And we saw that last week versus the Buffalo Bills, where they held that offense down in that ball game under 20 points. Number 6, Kaimi Fairbairn of the Houston Texans. So Fairbairn, one of the long-distance kickers in the league as well, where he could kick it up to 60 yards with no problems. I know this week it's a tougher matchup in Seattle. The 12th man, it's loud. That weather down there, especially this time of year, gets rainy, windy, and bad weather. But Fairbairn, like I said, this guy, he's got that deep ball going as well for him. And this week at Seattle, in a grind-it-out type of game, it just seems like weekly, at least a 50-plus yarder is there for him to get. Number 7, Jake Bates of the Detroit Lions. So Bates, pretty much a lot of extra points it's been for him. But this week versus Tampa Bay, I think this ball game, we could see this in the mid-30s between these two teams going at it. Bates, he's got a good boot. Indoor game with this line offense has been better at home than it's been on the road more times than not. And last week it was a down game for Detroit, only scoring 17 points. So this week, like I said, Tampa Bay can't stop anyone. They're going to be in the red zone a lot in this game. And Bates, it's just about, is he going to get extra points or is he going to get some field goal opportunities? Number 8, Will Lutz of the Denver Broncos. Last week was a good ball game for Will Lutz. It was a low-scoring victory, 13-11 in London versus the New York Jets. And this week the New York Giants come to town. And obviously in Denver, that altitude helps a kicker get an extra few yards on the kick. So Will Lutz has been a solid kicker many seasons. Obviously Sean Payton likes him a lot, where he was with him in New Orleans, and then a couple years ago traded for him over here in Denver. And this Denver offense, they stall out a lot as well. So this week versus the Giants, who give up top 5 fantasy points to kickers on the season, I like Lutz again to go out there and score in that 9 to 12 point range. Number 9, Michael Badgley of the Indianapolis Colts. So he's on with Spencer Schrader's out for the season. He got ran into a couple weeks ago, and Badgley signed quickly. And Badgley's been on and off this Colt team over the last few seasons. And this week, an indoor game in Los Angeles at the Chargers, where we know points are going to be put on the board. And obviously, anytime you're on a high-powered offense like Badgley is, opportunities are going to be there week in and week out. And this Colt team, in one offseason, with Daniel Jones coming in and being the quarterback, they've turned things around. A lot of guys are fantasy options this season, and Badgley, even being the kicker only 1 week right now, already a decent option. Number 10, Matt Gay of the Washington Commanders. So this is going to be an NFC East high-scoring ball game, I believe, between Washington and the Dallas Cowboys. And pretty much who loses this game, their opportunity of making the playoffs are going to be very tough road. Obviously going 2-4 in this game, whoever loses. So Matt Gay's got a good boot. I know last week he missed a 50-yarder, but then redeemed himself on the next drive, hitting a 52-yarder and at Dallas indoor game. And this Cowboy defense can't stop anyone, so he's a good option this week. Number 11, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks. So this Seattle offense, they're starting to kick it into gear over the last few weeks. Sam Darnold's really picked up the playbook. Him and Jackson Smith-Njigba are hitting on all cylinders and making big plays. And Jason Myers is getting 2 or 3 opportunities per game as well. So this week in a matchup versus a bend but don't break, pretty solid unit of the Houston Texans. Opportunities will be there for Jason Myers as well. And the 12th and final kicker I'm ranking this week is Nick Folk of the New York Jets. And Nick Folk weekly, it seems like he's getting anywhere from 8-12 fantasy points pretty much. This Jet offense, they can't punch it into the end zone. One of the worst offenses in the red zone as well this season. And last week, the Jets couldn't even score a touchdown. So Nick Folk, he had a few field goals in that game. We know he could kick 50-plus yards. We saw him early in the year, week 4, hit a 58-yarder. And this week in a matchup versus Carolina, where their defense isn't all that great. And I think the Jets, at minimum, will have a few field goal opportunities for Folk. He's a kicker that cracks the top 12 this week. So that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking for week 7 of the fantasy football season.